This is test 12 and 13 combined. We're testing the find players subroutine to see if it can successfully find these three players within current batsman array and the game totals dot bowler number, current bowler, which will determine all these statistics and where to go in these relevant players. So we'll do this by using test 13 also and running a dot ball. This takes us through and the find players subroutine is called using these parameters, which are then returned and added to the correct players. So as white box evidence for 12 and 13, as white box evidence for test number 11, which wasn't given because I didn't run through it properly, in current batsman, add a watch to this. Summers and Smith are both stored in there, and in game totals.current bowler, that is equal to 1 because for the bowler we store their bowler number, and that, as you saw before, is the bowler number of Harding, which is stored in the correct text box. So if we step through here, it should find the position of Summers, who is in current batsman 0, his position within the B players array, so the correct statistics can be stored. So if we skip through to found equals true, and then you see Summers has been found, and then this value of I will be returned, so 5 to the dot ball sub procedure where those balls will be incremented. The same occurs for Smith, so I2 is 0, and as you saw before, 0 is the value for Smith. This determines that the strike is true, so that sub-find players has worked correctly. So that's test number 12, and then if we look at the requirements for test number 13, so a dot has appeared in the over record. That might be worth enlarging because that is quite small. That is quite small to see for a user. 1 has been added to the ball's face of the batsman in the scorebook tab and the batsman tab. The over number has been increased by 0.1, and the bowler's overs bowled has been increased by 0.1, and that's just standard notation for cricket. So, and as you can see, it has met the requirements. These increments should all output to the form in their respective text boxes, which they have, and so the total number has also increased by 0.1, so both 12 and 13 meet all requirements. This is test number 14, and we'll test the possible outcomes of a player scoring a 2, a 4 and a 6. The difference between these three and 1, 3 and 5 will become clear. So if we first test for a 2, then step through. So as we can see, we'll continue to the end of this sub because this is what we went through in the last test. Now, so Broughton bat equals true because in this innings Broughton are batting, so this adds as one of the requirements. This adds 2 to Broughton's total runs. It says 12 here, and that is because I forgot to I added 10 runs at the beginning of the form for a previous test, and I forgot to remove that. So that is technically a fail, but that is easily resolvable. That's just an error a simple error on my part. And then if we run through again, so B plays search 1, which is Summers, who's on strike. As you remember, Summers' bat position is 5. But Summers' bat position is 1, and his position within the array is equal to 5. So his runs scored are now equal to 2. Then this subroutine just adds the information, the 2 runs to the relevant text boxes. And we'll see that at the end. As you can see, it's quite large. Then, because Brown bat equals true, this adds 2 runs to Harry Harding's runs conceded. So as you can see, A plays search ball, which is equal to 0 because Harding is bowling and that's his position within the A players array, is now equal to 2. This just adds the another ball to all the relevant text boxes. So we step through, we should see that, as in the requirements of test 14, 2 has been added to Harding, to the record. 2 has been added to the bowler's runs conceded. 2 has been added to the batsman's runs scored, and the ball's face has been incremented by 1. And 2 is also present in here as well. Obviously this is an error, this should only be 2, but that just involves erasing a line of code. So that is technically a fail, but it will be easily amended. I'll also try it for 4 and 6, and we should get the same outcomes. So 4 in the record structure, 4 in the over record, Summers runs is now equal to 6. Total runs of 16 should really be 6. The over number is still being incorrected by 0.1. The bowler's runs conceded is 6 in both here. The batsman's run scored is 6 in here. So also 6 text for 4. And then finally for 6, as you can see again, all the relevant changes have taken place. Harding's runs conceded now 12. Summers runs scored now 12. Overruns 22, which should be 12, which is obviously the result of 2 plus 4 plus 6, because a dot ball is no runs. Relevant changes taking place here. Everything seems to be working, so that is good. This is test number 15 to test the outcome of a 1, 3 and 5 runs being scored. The required outcomes for this are all within objective number 13 and number 14. The only difference is that the Boolean variable strike should be reversed to show that the player facing the bowling is different, so they are the batsman scoring the run, not the other one, and that is what the variable current batsman is used for. So we run through it and try a 1 first. So remember, this should be all the same outcomes as 14 and 13, and we'll just test those. We'll just look at those as the test boxes afterwards. What we're focused on is that the value of strike should be changed to show that the next time a player faces a ball. So as you can see, strike is currently true. So Brown dot bat equals true. We'll just put a break in here, step through to here, because that's the only thing that we need to test within this. So if strike equals true, which it does, these are all just the same tests as that we were running before. the value of strike is now changed, so you'll see the effects of this afterwards. So you can see the strike is represented by the asterisk, which is a universal term in cricket for that player being on strike. All the previous accolades have been updated, so the runs are now equal to 14. This is different to the last test, but the video was paused because I didn't want it to interrupt the end of over test, because the over was going to end, which would interrupt the test that we have for end of over, which is planned for later. So that was 13, now 14. The over number has increased from what was 1.0 at the start of the test to 1.1. Total runs have gone from 23 to 24. Runs 14 here as well. This is Green with a new bowler. That was the first ball of the over, so that's incremented by 1 to 0.1, and his runs conceded is 1. So you'll see the effects of this, of the strike. So when we go to 3, this means that Smith has now scored the 3 runs because the strike is switched over, which meant Smith was facing the ball. And we'll test for... oh, no, that is a fail. Sorry. Okay, so it has worked correctly for 1, but the strike value has not switched over for 3, as the asterisk should now be on Summers. So that has not worked. So we'll step through for 5 and see if it doesn't work there as well. I'll just write that down to make sure. 1, yeah. So we'll run through for 5 and see if it works for 5. So now the strikes switch back to Summers in this case. Step through here. Strike equals true, so strike equals false still, which shouldn't. It should equal true because 3 should have changed the strike back to true. As you can see, the value of strike is now true. So as we step through, the asterisk should have changed over as well. No, in that case, the asterisk has not switched over in this case, but the value of strike is actually true, because when we try 1, if we press 1 now, then the value of 14 should go to 15. Yeah, so to recap, 1 works fine, 3 the actual value of strike doesn't change, 5 the value of strike does change, but this isn't visible to the user because the asterisk remains to the player who's not on strike, so that needs amending.